is not your house. Now, what's your name?
My name is Bill Wilkins, and I'm 72 years old.
What do you make of that voice?
Hey, welcome back to What's Your Story? It is me, Lexi, JR, Rick, see, I don't know which way to point. All right, and we are here to discuss a 2016 film called The Conjuring. But before we get into it, I want you to hit the like, subscribe, comment, share, do it all of it. All right. So again, 2016 film, The Conjuring 2. Not 1, not 3, not 8, however many they have. Directed by James Wan. So the synopsis for this one, I'm just going to read it because I'm really bad at this. In 1977, paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren came out, self-imposed sabbatical to travel in Enfield, England. Basically, in a nutshell, family needs help. Mother named Peggy Hodgson, single mother, God forbid. She had 4 or 5 kids?
4.
God bless her soul.
Yeah, 4.
4. And their home is haunted by an evil presence, but there's more to that presence and we'll get into that. So, first question, what did you both, I'm going to start with Rick. What did you think of The Conjuring 2, and what makes it stand out from the rest of the Conjuring series?
What makes it stand out to me is the fact that I love it's in England for one, and I'm a sucker for the UK. And I think with the over-the-top accents, especially with the little kids like Janet, so adorable.
Yes.
Yeah.
But their home drew me into the film, to be honest with you. It's such a lower class family in a sense. It's got like old-fashioned furniture, like it's for 77, so I wasn't born quite yet, but that I was born 2 years after this, so the era still hits home for me. And I just love the family because they're everyday family. A mother, she's single, of course, divorced, 4 kids, and you could just see it. Like you could just feel the tension within the family that this haunting is causing. You know, Peggy and her kids, and that draws it apart because it feels like real people. It feels like it doesn't feel like actors that I've seen this person before, or it's not like that. You don't get that feeling whatsoever. You just look at it as a sense where I can relate to these people. Like growing up, this is what the TVs look like. This is what the remotes look like. That big ass thick remote. JR knows about that. And it just drew me in automatically to this film. And once you got me like that, then it doesn't matter what comes after because I'm invested. So I think that's what stands apart, not just to The Conjuring, but films like this in general. Just the
I like
setting.
the way you say that because I felt the same way. The whole vibe, even to the cops, like you felt their actual reaction. Like, oh well, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And no, I like the way you say that.
Yeah,
It's
and
true.
even the side characters like Maurice. What was his last name?
Gross.
Gross. Yeah, Maurice Gross. Even his character, like when he was like talking to Lorraine, and they're going like she's telling him like why she's doing this, and he's telling her why he's doing it, but she caught the wrong explanation. She heard wrong essentially. He's like, no, like I lost a daughter, so this is a chance to connect with it to see if there really is an afterlife, for example. That little scene there, like little touches, it gave me the humanity in this film. It wasn't just about the jump scares or the hauntings, the family and the characters surrounding that family. Even the skeptic, everything, bro, it was perfectly combined, and that's what stands apart. The house, the family, the people, and the Warrens. Something about Patrick Wilson and Verna. What's your last name, Verna?
Verma Fatima.
I can never get her last name right. I apologize, but I love these two as a couple. They feel natural. They feel like they really do love each other. And you don't get that in a lot of movies. It don't feel artificial. Like I could just sit there and just watch them talk about their day, and I'm entertained. So you don't get that with other films.
It's the couple you hope they're to act actually together outside of acting.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. What do you think, JR? What did you think of The Conjuring 2? What makes it stand out from the rest of the series?
What I liked about it was the fact that the way it set it up, the movie, because we start out with basically them investigating the Amityville, which in this area, once again, New England, it's one of the big storylines here, especially during those times.
The
But
Lutz family,
Lutz
that
family,
was big time.
and the fact that what she goes through now, if you ever looked at the Amityville horror, whether the movie or even like some of the documentaries afterwards, one of the famous pictures was the little boy that was in the house that came out in the picture, and there was no kids in the house at the time. So the fact that they brought that in, and it showed you how much damage that Amityville did to the Warrens, to the point where she needed a sabbatical because, which we'll talk about later in the things, she foresaw something happening to Ed, which kind of forced her, look, I don't want to do this anymore. We need a break. So I think the fact that you had the Warrens already entering the movie, almost resistant to doing what they've been doing their whole lives, added a twist to it. And then remember, they called the Enfield incident England's Amityville. So you're like, all right, this is going to escalate even more. As far as what made it stand out the rest, all of Rick's points are right on. I mean, you like the characters. Don't get me wrong. Conjuring 1 was good, but this one felt more realistic, more attached. You liked all the characters and the extra characters, which we'll talk about later on, that got added onto this, made this more of a complete movie.
Right. So for me, this one stood out the most to me out of the whole series is because, you watch movies that give so much detail and it's too much, but this one does give you so much, and it works and we'll get into detail about the stories that work. And I feel like every single story in this movie hits on point. But overall, is what Rick said is spot on to the way the characters work together, and how the family and the Warrens and even the media people, like, they all fit so well. Nothing seemed fake. It was like a small town coming together to help this family. And they even say that in a few spots, where the mother said, oh yeah, the neighbors gave us the crosses, and so I hung them. And so, like, I love subtle things like that make this work. And so this one really stands out the best to me because of, Rick's point. Yeah. So, does the story work for you? The Wilkins story versus with the Hodgson, especially Janet, which I'm dressed as Janet. I wanted to dress as Valak, but couldn't find it. In the mini stories, even with especially Lorraine's vision of Ed, and we'll get into the other part of Lorraine's vision.
Starting with Lorraine's vision, I loved, what I liked about the vision was it tied everything together essentially, because we have the story of Bill Wilkins. He's the main protagonist, or antagonist rather, in the film. So we are led to believe. And the scenes with him in general were scary. I mean, it was done so well, the way everything was handled. And especially coming for when, like, the priest was telling the Warrens about this case in England to check out. It could be a hoax, it could not. But his reasoning being, like, if it's a hoax, we don't want to, it's going to ruin our reputation. So, but if it's real, we don't want to turn down a family and need help. Little subtle dialogue like that makes all the difference in the world, because now you're not saying to yourself, she had this vision. Why is she going over there? She's stupid? No, because they also added the line of Ed telling Lorraine, listen, you saw that vision. Maybe it was for a reason. Maybe you're meant to save me. Now you know. And that's exactly as you go along in the film, you find out, yes, that makes total sense. So even the littlest contradictions make complete sense. And that's a credit to the writing team on that. Yeah. I liked it. Yeah, it worked. I love the fact that it starts off with Bill. You think he's the main antagonist, but he's just a pawn. So immediately there's sympathy put on Bill now. So now you're like, holy shit. I just felt like all this resentment towards this character, but now I feel sympathy towards him. Now there's something even greater. There's a greater evil out there. So it's just not a film that you're going through the motions. No, you've spent time with Bill and his story. Then when the flip switches, now it's a whole nother story. And you're like, holy shit. It's a 2-hour movie. It's pretty long, but the way it's structured, it breaks it down perfectly so you're never bored, and the plot's always moving. Dug that. So good mix. They did a really good job of combining those two elements.
All right. What did you think, JR, of the Wilkins story with Janet and then Lorraine's visions along with that?
Well, let's start with Lorraine's visions. The fact that you see that in the beginning of the movie made you wonder the rest of the way what, because I mean, yeah, you see something basically impale Ed. You don't know when that's going to happen. You don't expect it to happen on this trip because you don't, because it was just weird the way they show it, him getting impaled. And, you know, later we find out what it was. But the Hoskins family, the fact that, you know, you touched upon a single mom, dad took off. She sleeps every night, basically hoping he comes back, which you felt for the mom. Then she goes down to the basement that has a freaking water leak. So they're living in poverty, you know. And then, I'm sorry, I love Wilkins' character, my boy right behind me, because even in a certain scene, which I'll talk next, you know, for my possession scene, but the fact that all he wanted to do was come home and see his family.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yes, and one of the good visuals they did in this, and I always look at stuff like this, the fact that the house was an old house, but where he sat, it was deteriorating right behind the chair. I love that detail because I don't know how many people would have picked that up. The fact that everything is peeling, yes, everything is peeling. That whole, and the thing is, it's coming down almost like in a triangle, like which, you know, there's one scene which we'll talk about later. The reveal how this guy here reveals what's going on. But yeah, I mean, the Wilkins, the Hoskins, and one more thing, but this no CGI on his reveals, which I love that it was natural. It was done in ways where when he appeared, it came out like this scene was awesome when he came out from the shadows. But yeah, it worked well. I mean, the Wilkins storyline, like Rick was saying, you're led to believe one thing, but when you get that twist of what's actually happening, I mean, it was well done. Long movie, but it's one of those movies that you're not even keeping track of time.
And for me, I don't scare easy. This film, when I saw it initially in the theater, I was scared at points. Even leaving, it stuck with me. I kept thinking about it, and that's a testament of the writing and the direction of this film.
Right. I agree with both of you. Wilkins is probably one of my favorite characters in this movie. I love the fact that, like you said, you would think he's the antagonist, but he's a pawn being controlled by Valak, and we'll get into Valak. And I like the fact that he comes off kind of like the asshole. This is my house. Yeah. It's really Valak talking, if you think about it. Because, and we'll get into the subtle moments with Wilkins, but he kind of, little spoiler, he confesses to Lorraine his true self. So I love that the movie, Bill Wilkins and Janet's relationship, not really relationship, but, frenemy-ship, I guess. Because she's, God forbid, she's a child. She's scared of this guy. I love the moments of him coming out, like the one behind JR. Even the moment where he's dragging, and that part freaked me out. Like, this is, like you said, Rick, it gives you the jump scares that you don't expect. I am kind of scared of this movie too. Especially the part where Janet's, on the ceiling and she was tied to the rope, and then all of a sudden she gets pulled to the cross room. And how the heck did she get in there when the thing is bolted shut by the chains and locks? So it's like that whole thing was by far one of my favorites scenes. And the mother sees Wilkins, grabbing her back in, like, don't ask for help. And it's not Wilkins if you think about it. But I love that the real antagonist uses Wilkins as the bad guy. So,
Puppet master.
Yes. Puppet master for sure. So, which brings us to Janet's Possessions by Wilkins. What stood out the most between the two? Because I feel like they're the most important besides Valak, and we'll definitely get into that. Rick?
Yeah, my favorite possession scene, JR might agree with this one, when she was demonstrating, when they had to demonstrate in front of the Warrens and everyone else. They have her have the water in her mouth so they could. It's not a ventriloquist. It's not a. She's not throwing her voice, and a nice in-camera work shot.
Yes.
When you see her out of focus in the background with Ed facing us, his back to her, and slowly you start seeing her figure morphing into Bill, and it's so you can't tell because it's not like an instant. As you're watching it, you're noticing, wait a minute, is he changing? And then it's Bill, but then it turns back slowly into Janet, and that conversation with Bill and Ed there, perfection. That's why I love Patrick Wilson in his role. I don't think no one else could do it like him as Ed Warren. Something about him, man, and that conversation was so creepy to me because it's subtle. It wasn't like a crazy jump scare. It was slowly building and building and building until the climax, and then it slowly came back, and everything settled back in. And now you're left wondering, like, holy shit, what the hell did I just watch? But
that's by far probably my favorite scene.
That's my favorite scene. I mean, as far as the possessions, there's other scenes that are awesome and scary, but as far as possessions, that one, it stuck with me.
JR?
Yeah, I agree with that one.
Yeah.
That was the best one because this is where you see, and you could tell, like when we saw the first Conjuring, it was almost like passive in bringing out the demon entity. And this one, he was pushing Bill's buttons.
He had a little bit of aggressiveness to him.
Yes, which you weren't expecting.
Yep.
And even when Ed goes, "This is my house." No, it's not your house. It's not your house. It's it belongs to them. What do you want from this family? And when he transformed into Bill, the part where he goes, "Where's my family?" And that's when he started slowly turning back to Janet.
Yes.
And you right there, you felt bad for the guy. You're like, all right.
Yeah.
So, here he is possessing her, but in reality, he just wanted to see his family.
Yeah.
And then, later on, that basically he's stuck there because he's forced to basically harass his family to weaken them in order to basically, give her to Valak.
Yeah, that's how I took it. I took it as the fact that they wanted the Warrens. They wanted the Warrens over there, the Valak, because of the vision. So in order to get him over there, he used Bill as a pawn to drag them over there as far because they know.
Right, it comes full circle with Valak.
Pretty cool. I like that.
It's to lure Lorraine, the Warrens, into his trap, basically.
It's a trap.
Yeah, it's a trap. And poor Wilkins is the pawn of the whole thing. But
man, that's crazy.
Let's not forget the part where near the beginning of the movie where Janet first reveals Bill. With the scary, creepy voice. Oh, and the media is there because they're like, some people are on the side of, oh, this is all fake.
Yeah.
The other people that are actually witnessing, like the police, the neighbors, like they're all like, this is real. Even Maurice Gross.
I liked him a lot.
He was cool.
I liked him a lot.
Yeah. I didn't like his partner, the lady. I don't know her name.
Was it Patricia?
A skeptic, right?
Yeah, the skeptic, where she caught the Janet crashing in the kitchen, and I'm going to touch on that in a second. But the part where Bill is using Janet and his voice coming out of an 11-year-old girl's body is incredible. The whole part, and the media cameras are on her, and the fact to hear that type of raspy, scare, like that part scares me. It just creepy. I like the part that you guys mentioned because that's probably my also other favorite part of the movie. But just to introduce him in through Janet in the beginning, and even when they went back to talk to the priest and the priest plays it for the Warrens, oh yeah, that was from an 11-year-old girl's body, and they're trying to come out with actual causes. Yeah, that whole scene is important to bring in Bill. Yeah. Also, just the siblings, the relationship with the siblings. I love the part where they're on the couch with her at the media part, right? And they're just like, oh my God, are we actually hearing this? But the reaction of the whole family, I felt for the mother. You can hear her. See her. She's physically distraught. She doesn't know what to do. Like,
what do you do? Yeah.
What do you do? I'm going to support I'm going to do what the mother did. But there's going to be a part of me like, good luck. I'm going to run the fuck out of there. But let's go into the characters a little bit more, especially the part with the subtle touches of like the crooked man and the son, and the nun, Valak. And that ties in with Lorraine's vision in being the true antagonist of Bill Wilkins. What did you think of those subtle touches, Rick?
I love the crooked man scenes. Especially he's tied to the younger brother. And even like that, what was that thing, the toy that kept like turning on?
Yeah.
And
I don't even know what it's called.
What a little train set. It
was like a spinny toy.
Yeah, it's like a little merry-go-round.
Merry-go-round. Then you see like yeah. So the whole crooked man was tied to that. Then when he shows up and he's doing the whole nursery rhyme and slowly walking towards the camera, and then when you see he's about to pass through, it's Janet, and then you're like left like, what the hell? What happened here?
Shocked me.
That honestly, that made it scary because
yes,
you're expecting the crooked man, but then you see this young innocent girl, and that reminds you of the horror that this girl is going through.
Well, you really think it's the crooked man because you see the shadow along the board.
Good shout. That's true. I love the fact and I'm a little bummed that they had the crooked man spin-off that was canceled, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But who knows? It might get resurrected somehow. But that scene was dope. Valak, the nun, that scene with the painting, and you see the shadow slowly going towards the painting, gets behind it. The hands come out slowly, bro. You don't need. That's all you need. Yeah. The little hands slowly coming in, and then all of a sudden, jumps it. Lunges towards Lorraine, and oh my god, I would have shit my pants if that was me, man. That one of the greatest jump scares. That's like a do jump scare. Like we did Smile recently, and I think a lot of jump scares in that, but I think they were well done. This one was less jump scares, but again, well done when they are placed into the film, and that worked. That was so cool. Even though you saw it coming, you knew it, but it still worked. So the crooked man scene. And the Valak, the nun, man, I love the fact that it was introduced to a painting as well, because that shit is creepy. Paintings scare me, man. That's like, I don't know what it is about paintings, man.
And then like it makes Lorraine scared because she sees her husband painting it. Like, this is my vision. How does he know about my vision? He really doesn't, but like she's kind of wondering how does he know, and how is he? Do we really get him? We don't get to see him actually seeing her, Valak. So she's sitting here wondering, like, she's trying to put the pieces together.
That was a dope painting too, man. That thing belongs in the museum, bro. This guy paints like that. What's he doing looking at for ghosts? He should be a professional painter.
JR, what did you think of the subtle touches of the crooked man and the nun?
I love the crooked man. I mean, I think one of the scenes that was when Ed goes into the house to rescue Janet, and he goes into the tent, like the merry-go-round's playing, and it was cool. As playing, all of a sudden the crooked man disappears, and then his face is like right there.
Oh,
and
I
then
forgot about that.
He jumped up and he ran through the ceiling. He ended up in the other room. That was
and the sound.
Yes, that scene was awesome. Because remember, earlier the cops when they came, which is one of the funny scenes in the movies. They call the cops. They go into the house. The chair moves, but prior to the chair moves, she's like, I hear something in the wall. It's like a rat or something.
Yeah.
And then the mother was like, that's a giant rat. And all of a sudden the chair moves. Casa was like, well, we can't help with that, but you know,
Yeah.
we're
Ah,
out.
we out.
We're out. But I thought the scene with Val that kind of was cool for me was when she's at home with her daughter, and all of a sudden you see somebody walking like right behind, and then her daughter gets up. I mean, I think it was part of a vision dream because she woke up right after that, and then the daughter staying in the hallway just looking straight down, and then Lorraine was like, "What's the matter, Mom? Who's that?" And Val's just standing there looking at her. I mean, that was cool as hell. I'm like,
cool.
I would have walked out the house. I'm like, yeah, we good, but I know it was part of a dream. But yeah, I mean, I agree with Rick though, man. I'm so bummed the Crooked Man didn't get his.
Yeah, I really hope it gets picked up. Maybe James Wan. Come on,
it might. You never know. You never know.
It should. But yeah, overall, I think this is what makes this film good. The fact that you have introductions of the Valak character, Bill Wilkins' character, the Crooked Man character. I mean, a lot of good characters that tie into basically one character, Valak.
Because at the time this movie came out, I believe the Nun didn't come out yet, right?
No.
Or I mean, Crooked Man doesn't exist yet, but the Nun wasn't out yet. So I loved that we got to see that before those movies came out. Although in chronological order, it's different. For me, I love the Nun. You guys mentioned the Crooked Man, but man, my girl's the Nun. Fun fact, I dressed up as her one Halloween. So I'm gonna have to share that picture.
Nice.
But Valak is scarier to me. I love the Crooked Man. I want to see more of him.
Yes.
But the Nun, like you mentioned, the being in that painting room and the shadow and then the scare and the fingers, you can just see the grayness and the corpsey.
It looks cold. Hands are cold.
The coldness of the you can just feel Lorraine's fear in that scene, and then coming at you and then feeling attacked. But
especially that it was built up too prior to that, like with the painting and the visions and all that helps. Yeah. Again, the direction and writing, top tier.
Right, and they did mention that Lorraine had this vision when she was helping the Amityville, I believe, right?
So she first thought.
That's when we first met Valak in that vision. And then we see her again during this time. And then all of a sudden, Patrick's just one day painting her. Like, how did he know about this? So where does he see her? And then near the ending, like Valak coming to basically throw Janet out the window. I love the Warrens. Yes. I love the Warrens. But Patrick, I have a humongous crush on. And, and especially with Insidious as well. That's a different time, different wine glass. But
Watchmen.
Yeah, you give that.
Yeah. Also, just the ending where Patrick comes in and saves Janet. But that scene where they're in that room, like, you can just feel Janet's fear. You get more of the visual effects of like the teeth from the nun, and she's just so cool. Yeah, the makeup, the whoever does her makeup, and awesome. I love the teeth. That's the creepiest part. And when she's not even smiling, she's just like, trying to scare you. I love her.
With those teeth, man, you don't got us.
Yeah. It's just, and it's all drooled out by blood, and it's just she's a cool badass character. Alrighty, so now down to the ratings overall.
Bum, bum, bum.
What do you think of the storyline of the whole movie, Rick?
Storyline. I loved it. I just loved everything about it. Like I said, it was a longer film. Guys, I hate long movies, but this one was structured in a way that it kept reinventing itself as it went along, and that was key. I loved the whole story, Valak and the Warrens, that whole connection there, and how it ties over to this story all the way in England. Everything about it, I love the story. 5. It's a 5. Storyline's a 5. I was invested again. If I'm invested all the way through in a 2-hour and plus film, because this is like 2 hours and 10 minutes. Yeah. If I'm invested, that's a good storyline. So it doesn't get any better than that. So
you lose track of time. Like you don't even pay attention to it because it's that good.
You're so drawn into this world. Like you're invested.
Yeah. Even in the subtle good moments where he's singing Elvis on the guitar, and they're having ice cream or breakfast, or it was just even the subtle moments, it still kept it going.
I really connected to this film too. Real quick, I know this is What's Your Story? Story time with Ricky Grimes, if you please allow me this opportunity.
Go ahead.
When I was a kid, when the Sega Genesis first came out with Sonic the Hedgehog, I asked for it for Christmas. It was in the tree in the next room. My brother occupied that living room space, so I had to wait for him to wake up in order to get my present. So I got up like 5 a.m, and everyone's sleeping. I'm in my bed, and there's a long hallway behind me going towards the living room. I hear footsteps. I shit you not, guys. Boom, 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 getting closer and closer and closer to my room. And I'm like, what? I get up, quickly lock the door, jump back in bed, and then I see my doorknob just twist and turn like someone's trying to get in. I ran, grabbed a bat, and went under the covers. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what's going on? And then I just sat there, waited, and it stopped. And then like an hour later, my mom wakes up, and I get up, so in case someone's in the house, But no, nothing. And I swear to God, somebody got up, and I asked my mom. She said it wasn't her. So when I'm watching this movie, the scene where Janet's in the room and she hears the footsteps coming closer and closer, I'm like, close the door, what are you doing? And then I just start shaking. I related to that scene because I personally had an experience with something like that. So again, storyline, that has to play a factor in it because it can happen. Everyone, whether you believe it or not, I have my own experience with the paranormal. I'm not saying it was paranormal, but I believe it was. I'm not gonna try and convince someone else it was, but I know what I saw that day, and this movie resonated with me for that.
Yeah, I definitely have experience with paranormal too, so that's definitely. I am a big just side fact. I am a huge paranormal watcher. I like Ghost Adventures, Ghost Brothers.
Me too. Yeah.
Hunters. I watch them all. Yeah, I definitely believe in some because I've had my own experiences.
Listen, I was born in a haunted house. No lie.
I
lived right across Remington Arm Factory here in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Mm-hmm. And the Ghost Adventures with Zach Baggins?
Yeah.
They did an episode there. They were there. I saw that episode. I saw my old house, and there's a graveyard right in front of it. So I was born in front of a graveyard. And that house, we had dolls getting up and walking, voices being thrown, and people hiding in the curtains. Like a lot of weird paranormal shit happened in that home. I think that's why I love this fucking shit so much, man.
Yeah. Me too.
But yeah, Ghost Adventures, all that stuff, I'm down for.
I love it. I'm down with it too. Yeah. And I live in a haunted house, so that's a different day, different discussion.
I'm good. I'm all set with that.
So what is your overall rating for the story, JR?
5. I mean, this is you couldn't get any better. You connect to their basically toughest hauntings investigations they did, the Amityville and Enfield. I mean, very similar in certain degrees. The fact that you tie in the valid character from one case to another is even better.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good shout.
And then the fact that is you have them ready at the point where Lorraine's willing to step back, where Ed, this is what he does, and he doesn't like to say no to a family, and he had to sell it to her in order for them to go. And even when she's there, the fact that she doesn't feel anything, she doesn't really believe there's anything going on until they are on the train, and he takes out the recordings and plays Bill talking, 2 different recordings simultaneously, where basically he's asking for help.
About this.
Yes, he's asking for help, which I thought was a good twist, because when you get to that point, you're like, as a viewer, you're like, all right, there's something going on, but the fact from their standpoint, they've been doing this for so long that they even question whether there's anything really happening. And I mean, very, very well done storyline. Yeah, I give it a 5.
Yeah, awesome.
I definitely absolutely give it a 5. I gave it a 5 before even discussing this with you guys. But just touching up on what you said, JR, the part where they figured it out on the train, but they had a hint of doubt for just a hot second. I felt like they didn't truly doubt it because in their heart and soul, they felt
they needed tangible evidence. Yeah. That's why they had to bounce, but they knew something was not right.
I feel, and this is just my opinion, I feel, because talking about possessions and paranormal and stuff, I feel that it was glassed over by Valak of Janet throwing shit around in the kitchen. I don't think that actually truly happened. I think it was Valak morphed like he can morph into Bill Wilkins and morph. Janet's a puppet as well, if you think about it. So I don't think that was truly Janet in that kitchen. I think it was a setup to get them out of there.
Yeah.
And then now that I'm speaking about it out loud, I don't know if Valak truly wanted them out of there because Valak was trying to lure the Warrens in. So I don't know. I felt like though that part was glassed over by Valak. I could be wrong. It could have been, but
that's the beauty of the film, though. Everyone's got their own perspective. I love that they don't spill it up for you. They don't.
No.
They leave it there so everyone has their own view and opinion on it.
But like, it's weird that part happened because I think it was more for the skeptic as well. But overall, the storyline, I think the creepiest part was where Janet's in that closet or the air vent thing. She's twisted in there.
How'd she get in there?
I don't know.
How'd she get in there? They're all just looking.
Kids got their ways, man. You know.
Yeah, I would have been like, I'm out, man. I'm good, man.
That's how I feel. I'm there for my kid, like Miss Peggy Hodgson is, but man, a part of me would be like, I really want to bounce, like the cops did. Oh, well, this isn't our forte. This ain't our job. But overall, storyline is a definite 5 for me. I love the subtle moments of little romance moments. I hate romance, trust me, but I love the romance between the Warrens, especially the part where they both separately talk to Janet and trying to support her and listen to her side of the story. And what did you do about it? Well, I married him. And you know what I did about it? You married her. Yeah, it was just so cute how that part comes together. And
wasn't forced.
Oh. Yeah, it wasn't forced. And he's like, so you heard the story.
Yeah.
I just love all the characters, all the from the Warrens to the Hodgson, even Wilkins, even to the scary monsters, the Crooked Man, like
they all played their part.
It's a bunch of stories that all came together full circle, and it wasn't too much. It sounds like a lot, and it is a lot, but it all works. It's not okay. This is too much information. Where some movies can be lack of information. Alrighty. Overall score on the characters. Now that we're talking about them, Ricky, what did you think?
Cool. Yeah, I'll keep it short on this one.
Yeah.
Character 5 because I already talked about it before. I love the Warrens. Alexa, you mentioned it. The romance part. Every movie has to show in romance, but this doesn't feel shoot in at all. This feels perfectly fit for the story because you mentioned the scene with the little girl talking to Lorraine, then it goes full circle with Ed, and then when Ed's brings up the guitar, he's singing Elvis to the family, and the way way Lauren cuts to Lorraine and that look on her, looking at him like that love, you can feel the love, man.
And the little sexy moment where they're both in the bed, and he's like, "I don't feel too far from you." She's like, "Well, then it's for something."
I love that. She was like, "Oh, okay, this is something to look forward to when we get home." And I'm like,
he looked like.
But yeah, the characters, I talked about all the characters, love them all. And I got to bring this out, though. The house, to me, is a character. I love that. Again, it felt worn, lived in for years. You could see, like, the walls, the chipping on the walls, the paint's coming apart, the kids' rooms are little one poster here. And we all have rooms like that growing up. And, of course, the mom's doing the best she can. They're eating, like, bread for the most part. So, again, they didn't take, like, a higher class family with everything. No, this is a family with nothing, and now on top of nothing, she's going through a divorce, and on top of that, they're going through this. Just like Ed said, these demonic presences feed on trauma, and they get you when you're down. So
yeah,
I love it. So the characters, even the house, to me, that house is a character. I love that house because it felt real. It felt lived in. It felt like it was no art design. They just took someone's home from the 70s as is. And just shot in them. Everything looks so authentic, so that's a 5.
Right. JR?
5 too. I mean, you talk about the house of location. I mean, as a character, that freaking chair in that corner. Even without Bill in there. Holy crap. I mean, just
come on, JR, you had a chair like that growing up, right? Come on.
Oh yeah, who didn't have a chair like that, man? Yeah. But that even the wall, I mean, just I mean, that was his perfect. Yeah,
The TV with the bunny ears, like
Bill. I mean, Bill was a good. I'm glad
good.
they had.
I love
they
that character, bro.
character.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is a 5. 'Cause every
Yes.
Bill, Crooked Man, Valak, the kids, the Warrens, the Skeptic, the Grossman, what's his name? I keep forgetting his name.
Gross.
Maurice Gross. Everybody played their part, bro.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah, 5 for me for all characters overall, all of them. There wasn't one weak person in this movie, from the monsters to the Hodgsons to the Lorraines, or I'm sorry, to the Warrens.
I'm doing the same thing. I'm getting everyone's names mixed up now.
Yeah, everybody is a complete 5. There's no weak spot at all. The chair. I like that you bring up the house and the furniture and the whole scenery of the house. I hope she owns that house, because if they're just eating bread, that's a nice ass house that they, risk their life on. But the chair. Did you peep the ending of the movie though, where the words came up and it said that Peggy died in that chair?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And the fact that they actually used the actual footage from like the real life, because this is based on a true story. In case I don't know we brought it up, this story is based on a true story. So to see the actual people like Janet, Peggy, like the real life versions of them, and when they're in the actual room like investigating and they see like the stuff that we just saw.
Yeah.
Wow, that was cool. I love when they do that.
Yeah, characters. There's not one bad thing to say about any of them. I liked all the siblings as well, and we barely talked about the siblings, but they did play a vital role, especially in the beginning of the movie where, she's Janet's tying herself to, I don't want to walk around. I want to actually get sleep, and the sister is in there, and then the bed's moving, and then the mother sees the dresser go across, like the whole thing with the siblings. I love that. And even Patrick, or Ed, played as Patrick, he even mentions before he starts singing Elvis that the way you get bullied at school is what's happening with Janet, so you all need to stay together as a family.
Yeah.
That part, I love that whole, and it's part of the romantic side of this, but I love that part. The characters, what can you say? This is a badass movie. It's a 5. All right. Overall rating. I think we pretty much said it.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't guess by now what our overall rating is.
Yes, if you don't know.
Only GR would be like, 3.
5,000.
4.85 now. It's a 5.
Yeah, it's a 5. This I love this film. I saw it in a theater and it stuck with me for a long time. And what I love about it too, it's a mature film. Like the characters feel real. They're not obnoxious teenagers or young adults.
No.
They're characters that have real problems, but they're human. So they also see other humans are in need of help with their own problems, and they put their problems to the side. It's just, I love it. 5. Absolutely.
Not only that too is rarely do you get a sequel that's better than the first one.
Yeah. I put 100%.
That's
rare. This is a better film.
That is rare to happen. And the downside to it, if I was to give it any kind of downside, this put it in such a pedestal that the ones that follow,
it's tough.
Yeah,
had a hard time keeping up with what this movie did.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely 5 without a doubt.
Fun fact, like I mentioned before, I dressed up as Valak one Halloween, and we throw a Halloween party every other year because it takes a month to build, because we build a maze in our house. And we have like the butcher room, the spider room, the murder scene in the bathroom, the safe room where the BYOB is there, the maze from our driveway into the house. Like, we have like a 4-way street in the middle of the whole maze. The fourth street, I guess, because our whole theme is called, oh my God, what is our theme? The Nightmare on Bay Street. Little Freddy Krueger there for you. If you don't know by now,
Please tell me Joe is a worker there. Like, he's got to be a scare actor. Come on, man.
Right. I even have like my friends hiding in this corner, so when they walk through the maze, they kind of grab at people. But anyway, so we have different rooms, but when I dress as my character, there is the main room where it matches with my character. So when I dressed up as Valak, the scene behind JR with the crosses upside down, I had crosses upside down in my living room. that was my theme with Valak. So fun fact, I had
I'll tell you
upside
what.
down
Our
crosses.
next Halloween stream, you gotta dress up as Valak.
Yes.
Yes.
You got to. And JR will be Bill Wilkins.
Come
Come on, JR. You gotta do it, JR.
You
Come
be
on,
the
bro.
crooked man.
I'll be the crooked man. I'll do it. Let's do it.
JR can be Janet.
I want him with you.
Just
I'm gonna get a wig.
he got the hair. He got the hair.
No,
Get a wig to here.
we can have Joe be Maurice Gross.
Oh my god, he would be perfect. Yeah. But that, yeah, the character or the scene behind JR, that's my favorite, one of my favorites. And so I had to match the upside down cross, and I cut it out of like paper construction and just pasted it everywhere. I'll have to send you guys the pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was episode 6 of The Conjuring 2. What a fun film to talk about, guys.
Thank you for inviting me to What's Your Story. I know when I found out you're doing Conjuring 2, I reached out to JR, like, bro, I have to talk about this movie. One of my favorites.
Yes.
So thank you. I appreciate it, guys.
Yes. Ricky, thank you so much for joining us on What's Your Story.
Of course, yes.
What I got going on is soon more movies to fall asleep to. More What's Your Story with JR, and hopefully soon joining the Three Corners of Horror on another movie. Hopefully I got to talk with you guys. Alrighty. Thank you, Ricky Grimes, for joining us. I want you to like, subscribe, share, comment, do the damn thing. Alrighty. I hope you all stay scared.
Peace.